They made me sit in the kitchen, next to the dirty dishes and leftover cake, while my ex-boyfriend gave a toast as the best my own brother's wedding, and they treated me like a damn maid. Before you go any further, hit that subscribe, like, and share if you believe no one deserves to be treated like trash, especially not by their own family. I'm Freya. 32. CEO of a luxury events company that's booked months in advance. But apparently, that meant nothing to my family. To them, I was still the emotional, broke little sister who cried too much and dreamed too big. They never asked me how I was doing. Never noticed I stopped asking them for help years ago. Or that my apartment went from a one-bedroom to a penthouse. Nope. They were too busy belittling me to realize I didn't need their validation anymore. When my brother, Mason, announced his wedding, I offered to help. I didn't mention my company. I just said, let me know if you need anything. You'd think offering time and effort would mean something. Instead, they asked me to serve drinks at the rehearsal dinner. I told them no. Politely. They rolled their eyes and said I wasn't doing much anyway. Still, I stayed quiet. Still, I showed up. The wedding was massive, like something out of a movie. The venue? One of mine. Booked under my company's name through my assistant, Emma, so no one knew I was behind it. Every inch, from the chandelier down to the custom floral arches, had my signature style, and yet, when I arrived, dressed in a simple designer gown, my mom barely looked at me. My aunt whispered, at least she's not crying this time. Then I saw it, the table arrangements, every cousin, every friend, every ex in a suit and tie had a place. Card at the grand table, except me. My card was in the kitchen. Literally on a folding chair behind the swinging door where servers walked in and out. I froze. I thought it was a mistake, until I saw my sister-in-law glance at me and smirk. She planned it, and my mom? She said, don't make a scene, Freya. It's not that deep. Not that deep. They just shoved me back into the role they needed me in, invisible, quiet, desperate for love, but that Freya was gone, and what they didn't know was that the moment I walked in, my company was still listed as the main sponsor. The floral designer, the lighting crew, the venue staff, and even the valet, all of them were under my payroll, and I had a decision to make: let them humiliate me, or show them exactly who they tried to bury. I stood up from that cheap folding chair and walked straight out of the kitchen, heels clicking like gunshots on marble floors. Every eye in the hallway turned. But I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I was boiling. Emma, my assistant, was standing near the entrance with her iPad. I whispered just one line: initiate the blackout protocol. She looked at me, half shocked, half proud. Are you sure? I nodded. They wanted drama. Let's give them a memory they'll never forget. Within minutes, the perfect chaos began. The DJ's sound system glitched, then died. The lights over the reception area flickered and went dark. Guests began murmuring, confused. Then the caterers stopped serving, standing still, all at once, like statues. Every element that made the wedding magical was gone. I could hear the panic from the main hall. Mason's voice rose above the noise. What's going on? Why is everything shutting down? That's when I stepped in. Calm, controlled, and fully in command. I walked into the center of the ballroom with a mic in my hand, one of the few still working. The room fell silent. My name is Freya Taylor, I said, voice echoing. And I'm the founder and CEO of FT Lux Events, the company responsible for every part of this wedding you're currently watching fall apart. Gasps. Some jaws literally dropped. I saw Mason's fiancée go pale. My mom's glass slipped from her hand and shattered. 3 months ago, I continued, my company was approached to sponsor this wedding. I agreed, anonymously, because I believed in family. But today, I was seated in a kitchen like a servant, disrespected by the people who should have lifted me up. I paused. Let the silence simmer, so I pulled the plug. Aunt Karen tried to stand up. This is outrageous. No, I said, turning to her. What's outrageous is pretending to love someone while mocking them behind their back. What's outrageous is needing my resources and forgetting my name. My brother looked stunned. You can't just ruin my wedding. Funny, I said, that's exactly what you all tried to do to me, my entire life. Then I dropped the mic. Literally, the best part? The media team, also mine, caught every second on camera, and it was about to go viral. My phone buzzed before I even reached the parking lot. Emma texted, the clip's already got 120,000 views. Comment sections. Exploding. You're trending, boss. I didn't smile. Not yet. Not until I finished what I came here to do. Outside, my mom rushed after me, heels clicking wildly. Freya, wait. You embarrassed the whole family. I turned slowly. You mean like when you told people I was too sensitive to hold a job? She flinched. That was years ago. Exactly. And I built an empire since then. Quietly. While you laughed at me behind wine glasses. Then came Mason, red-faced, holding his bride's hand. You humiliated us. You've always been dramatic. Why couldn't you just sit in your little seat and be grateful? That word. Grateful. Like I should be thankful they even let me in. The building, you should have sat at the back, his bride sneered. You're not even married. No one knows you. I looked at her, really looked at her. You wore a $12,000 Vera gown that I approved for a brand campaign. Your ring's venue discount? My connection. You wanted a fairy tale, sweetheart. I built it. Brick by brick. And now I'm taking it back. I walked away. But just as I reached my car, something stopped me. I turned back and said calmly, oh, and you might want to call your florist, lighting team, and DJ. Because they just backed out of all future bookings with you. The bride's jaw dropped. You wouldn't. I already did. By the time I got into my car, my notifications were on fire. Influencers were reposting my speech. Podcasts were already requesting interviews. And the best part, 3 major clients, including a tech billionaire, had just emailed Emma, saying, we want the woman who shut down her own brother's wedding with style. That night, while my family sat in the dark picking up the pieces, I was already sipping champagne on a rooftop with people who respected me, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I needed them, they needed me. The next morning, my mom showed up at my office without an appointment, something she'd never done before. Her face was a mixture of regret, pride, and confusion, like she couldn't decide whether to scold me or applaud me. I just wanted to talk, she said quietly. I gestured to the plush seat across from my desk. She sat like a stranger in a space she clearly didn't belong in. She glanced around. You really built all this? I nodded. With zero help from you. No loans. No introductions. Just work. Relentless, exhausting work while you all laughed at me for having too many dreams. She sighed. You know, your aunt thinks you went too far. Of course she does. She was sitting at the front table. Silence. Then she whispered, I didn't know you were hurting that much. That's what stung the most. That they didn't even notice. I leaned forward. You didn't even ask why I never brought dates to family events. Why I stopped calling. Why I left. Group chats. You all just assumed I was bitter and dramatic. You never stopped to ask if I was building something. Her eyes filled with tears. But I didn't flinch. Then she reached into her purse and handed me something. A wedding invitation, your cousin Natalie's wedding. We'd love you to come. Maybe even help organize it, if you want. I looked down at the card. White embossed lettering. Cheap stock paper. They wanted my help again, but this time, they were pretending it was an honor. Mom, I said slowly, I don't do favors for people who treat me like an option. She froze. So, is that a no? I smiled. It's a hard no. And then came the final twist. Just as she was leaving, Emma knocked. Freya, the mayor's office just confirmed. They want you to lead the city's upcoming charity gala. Full creative control. And they've approved a 7-figure budget. My mom's eyes widened. The mayor? I leaned back in my chair. Yeah. Turns out, being too emotional helps me connect to people better than any of your polished cousins ever could. She didn't say another word. She just left, quietly, carefully, like someone who had just realized the person they underestimated the most had become untouchable. A week later, I walked into that charity gala in a black satin gown, head held high, cameras flashing around me. My name lit up the digital backdrop, presented by Freya Taylor's CEO, FT Lux Events. The same people who once called me too much were now standing in line just to shake my hand, and guess who I spotted near the bar, pretending not to look shocked? Mason. His bride stood stiffly beside him, clearly uncomfortable in the crowd that no longer revolved around them. He walked over hesitantly. Freya, wow. This is insane. Thanks, I said coolly. And thanks for coming. You're on the guest list? He scratched his head. Actually, no. We were invited by someone else. I didn't know you were running the whole thing. Of course he didn't. They never knew. Because they never cared enough to ask. Well, I said, lifting my champagne, enjoy the evening. But don't touch the floral arrangements. They cost more than your wedding. I walked away before he could speak, then Emma approached, beaming. That was savage. I laughed softly. No. That was closure. By the end of the night, I had 3 more deals in place, 2 celebrity clients, and an offer for a documentary about women who built empires after being written off, but none of that compared to the final message I got as I sat in my car heading home. It was a DM from my younger cousin, Layla. The only one who'd ever really asked me how I was doing. It read, I saw what you did. You've inspired me. I want to start my own business. Can you teach me? And just like that, I realized the biggest revenge wasn't the blackout or the exposure. It was becoming the kind of woman no one could ignore anymore, the one they had to introduce themselves to, because I wasn't just the girl they seated in the kitchen anymore. I was the woman who owned the building.